this. Why do you think our generation particularly is so enwrapped in the LGBTQ community, gender confusion? Because it's so pervasive. I don't even know what the statistics is, but it's just so, it's like I hear all the time people are saying, oh, like I'm coming out as this and that. And it's just a very like potent struggle. So why our generation specifically? Like, why is God doing this now?
I think two things, really three things. Number one, we as a generation, Gen Z, we are like a generation that longs for identity. Like we want to be identified with something that's bigger than ourselves.
Yeah.
Like that's our generation. Like we want a cause, we want a goal, we want something that's bigger than ourselves. And I think the reason for that is because we're living in a time where there's so much tension on the earth in so many different areas. We're trying to find a place to root ourselves. Like, I'm here. This is who I am. This is what I believe. This is what I stand for. And see, the desire isn't wrong, but sometimes the expression is. And so what I'm really believing for Gen Z is like, that's why we need to understand who we are as a son or daughter of God. And then we have to understand whose we are, that we are a child of God. We are a child of the one who created the heavens and the earth. But then not only that, if I put all these things together, what I find really interesting is even from Genesis to the end of the Bible, we see this theme where sexual immorality just seems to be a thing for all generations. And the reason why I bring that up is not to diminish the purpose or not to diminish, standing against darkness, but this has been something that's been happening from the beginning till now. And I think it's key to see that, because when we understand that the enemy has these certain like themes that he tries to keep doing over and over, it actually, for me, it frees me up to say, oh my gosh, the enemy has already done this before. I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to cause an identity crisis so that they don't know who they are, so that he can run rampant in our nation and the nations of the earth. But then it gives me hope, because every time in the Bible, when I see these things take place, God always raises somebody up or raises a people up, aka the church, to stand firm and to push back. And you know what's so interesting? I'm just going to go here for a sec. ElijahFIRE, right? We're talking about Elijah. I've been really intrigued by the story of Elijah, because Elijah, I feel like, is like Gen Z. Not many people, like there's nothing about Elijah. We don't really know anything about his upbringing. We don't really know anything about his family. All of a sudden, he just steps onto the scene and he's this amazing prophet. And he's literally standing against the false gods of his culture. He's so confident in God that he's like, come to this mountain, bring all your people with you, and we're going to figure out who God really is. Whose God is God? Like, I'm like, dude, that sounds like Gen Z. Like, I feel like that's the question that we have in our heart. We're like, who is God? Who reigns? Who really is in control? Who is the one with power? Who is the one with all glory to actually save and heal and deliver us? And so I know I kind of went all over the place there, but
you're good. Go there.
I'm like, God, for Gen Z, we're longing for identity. We're longing for something bigger than ourselves. And I believe that as we begin to step into seeing who we are and whose we are, that will allow us to walk in the fullness of what God has designed for us. And so my encouragement, and the reason why Gen Z is such a big emphasis in our ministry and just in my personal life, is like, if the enemy, let me say it like this, every healthy nation typically has healthy families, but every fallen nation typically has fallen families. And so if the enemy can control the narrative of the next generation, of the children, of the younger ones, then he can ultimately control the nation. And that's why it's so important to stand for our children, and I don't even have children yet, but to stand for our children, for the children, so that the next generation is raised up as those who know God, who understand who he is, and stand against the enemy in the times to come.